Here's the date chart, no birth time known, of billionaire, CEO, designer, technology executive, Tesla CEO, Elon Musk. And he just made the news really recently on account of a tweet in which he stated the stock for Tesla was too high in his opinion, whereupon the investors took him up on it and sold off a lot of the stock, and in short order, something in the order of $14–15 billion disappeared from the value of the company. It's not the first time in recent years he has been involved in controversial behavior. Going back to 2018, when Saturn was opposing his Sun, he was first in trouble with the SEC, again due to tweets which had him accused of trying to manipulate the stock, and the end result was a $20 million fine, which for a billionaire isn't very much. But nevertheless, you could tell he was feeling the pressure of Saturn, not only in the sign opposite, but very directly opposite his Sun. And this has continued in some form even into 2020, because Saturn is now in early Aquarius, but it hasn't finished its tour of Capricorn and won't until the end of the year. So that factor is definitely there to be considered. But in the immediate term, I would put Neptune as the main culprit, because Neptune is famous for a kind of loss of contact with reality, basically manifesting as confusion and acting against your own interest. It's not a very grounded planet. He's born with Neptune opposite Saturn, which is actually very good from the perspective of grounding imagination. Neptune being the imagination, the wish, the vision, and Saturn manifesting it in a tangible form. And in fact, notice that Saturn is in Gemini, Venus is in Gemini. That's the sign of cars and transportation, so it makes perfect sense. But oppositions, while they're useful overall, they always transmit the possibility that at some point those planets will get you in trouble, because the energy is dynamic, and in that sense it's helpful, but the dynamism can run amok. And in current days, you've got Saturn opposing and Saturn opposing and Neptune squaring, and it just means that at times it'll be too much, and this is one of those times. Neptune reached the square to Venus by 2019, and it's once again tightly squaring now, and it won't be finished with this Venus until the spring of 2022. So there's a ways to go, and we probably should expect a few more strange things from this man in the months and possibly years to come. Now, if we had an exact birth time, then having an ascendant, zenith, midheaven, we would be able to get more precise information. But even without the time, this particular day chart has some pretty striking features. I already mentioned the Saturn-Neptune, which would be the same pretty much regardless of birth time. Also a Sun-Uranus square, which is notorious, or rather, let's say, common in the charts of people with technological leanings, entrepreneurial spirit, independence, and even selfishness, which is something he has been accused of. Even though he's a philanthropist, he's not particularly regarded as someone all that interested in philanthropy as a major role. His primary interest is his company and his success. And notice that the planetoid Eris is conjunct Chiron, which I'm not going to make much of. What I will talk about is that it's square Mercury. And this gives you a very competitive thinker. And in that sense, that's quite useful. Competitive energy in the world of high tech and trying to make a lot of money and connecting with success is very useful. What is not so useful is that Eris is also quite discordant and is going to get into discordant and even chaotic communication. And when I looked at this Eris, you can't find much in this chart around transits because Eris moves so slowly. It doesn't connect with anything in his chart. By solar arc, it's right down here in this area where his Saturn and Neptune are opposed. It's just getting there now. So what I think is happening here is it's going to increase or double down, perhaps, let's call it, the tension with the Neptune being there until 2022, because approximately through that period, the Eris will be stirring up this Saturn-Neptune opposition. So basically, I would say we can expect further unusual communication and other things from this man over the next significant while.